Probability. Probability is the measurement of how likely something is to happen. Recently, one of my speedruns that I did on Twitch has been analyzed by the speedrun.com volunteer mod team and deemed as improbable to a degree that is nearly impossible. So lucky, in fact, that they came to the mathematical conclusion that it had 1 in 7.5 trillion odds of happening. So they put out a video and a long document talking about it, and this is my response. Now, I'm not sure if you realize how big of a number that is, but that is basically impossible. You have better odds of winning the lottery 3 times in a row. So ever since this math was done, I've had people spamming me, calling me a cheater, and insisting that there's nothing I can possibly say or do to refute the fact that I cheated. Now, every speedrun that I've ever uploaded on my YouTube channel is still verified and still on the leaderboards, including a 6th place run in 1.15, but the run that I did on my Twitch on 1.16 is no longer on it. Now, I plan on going over in detail each of these points later, but I want to summarize some misconceptions right at the beginning. 1, the only speedrun that was unverified was a 5th place run that I did on a stream a couple months ago, and all of the world record videos that I posted are still verified. One of the mods said, quote, "We have no reason to believe that any of the 1.15 runs are cheated." 2, the odds are wrong. I hired a professional statistician with a PhD that is an active astrophysicist to write an analysis, and I'll be going over parts of that analysis today. 3, I did not delete any evidence, and I was doing everything I was asked to by the mods, and I actually have one of the mods on later to come and confirm that. And 4, not all of my 1.16 live streams were used for the data. Only the 6 luckiest ones were. I had 5 other streams before those streams I did on 1.16, but they had below average luck and were not included in their analysis. I had the expert include these streams in a much smaller, separate analysis, which concluded that with these 11 streams included, the data shows, quote, "no statistically significant evidence that Dream was modifying the probabilities." So now that we got the misconceptions out of the way, which I will go over later, the math. I'm not that good at math, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this may not be either, so I found somebody who is amazing at math and specializes in probability to help get to the bottom of it. Bill Nye, the science guy. Yes, you heard me right. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. That's a joke. A professor with a PhD that graduated from Harvard, that's actually a practicing astrophysicist that is an expert in statistics and astrostatistics. After reaching out to this expert, he insisted that if he was going to do this analysis, that I must agree to release his findings regardless of if they made me look good or they made me look bad. Knowing that I'm innocent, I agreed. The mod team is a group of respectable people, but they're also young and a group of volunteers, so it's hard to fault them for making mistakes when compared to a full-time professional with a specific expertise in a field like this. After extensive research into the mod's math and the logic and reasoning behind this math, the expert found that the math was off. In the description of this video, there's a link to a 19-page report written by this expert that is extremely detailed into exactly what they got wrong and why. I won't be going over it entirely in this video, but for the people more interested in the math, it's linked in the description. I will be going over what I think are the most important parts though. First of all, the math was off by at least 7.4998 trillion. And the original number was 7.5 trillion. And like I mentioned earlier, this is a huge number. So it's also a huge number to be off by. On the screen right now is a representation of how far they were off by. Again, I'm sure the mods did their best, but when talking about someone's character and their image, making mistakes as big as this can be really damaging. After coming to an estimate of a new probability, the expert said this, quote, "Even in the worst case, the probabilities are not so extreme as to rule out any chance that Dream used the unmodified probabilities." The expert also said, quote, "If you ask, what is the probability that anyone playing Minecraft has luck as good as Dream did during these 11 streams, then the odds are very high. Dream's luck can be described not in terms of unusual success in the game, but that out of all of the Minecraft players, it was him who got this lucky, and he got this lucky while live streaming. But remember, this could not be counted against him, because he was investigated precisely because he got very lucky." I actually ran a survey where I gave 100 random people 2 options on what the number they talked about meant. Option 1, the odds of a top 1000 speedrunner on video or stream getting the luck that I got, or option 2, the odds of anyone doing piglin trades in Minecraft getting the luck that I got. Every single person out of the 100 said option 2. They, and probably you watching this based on the survey, figured that the mods presented the odds of this happening to anyone while trading with piglins. They didn't think that this was the odds of this happening to someone while speedrunning being a top 1000 speedrunner on stream or video. As a good example, pick a number between 1 and 10. Go ahead, right now, pause, pick a number between 1 and 10. You had a 10% chance of picking the number 7 just then. Now, out of the millions of people watching this, there's probably quite a lot of you that picked that number, but there may only be a few thousand that are recording but also picked the number 7. And there may even be fewer of you that were doing a reaction to this or were live and also picked the number 7. That doesn't change the odds of you picking the number 7, it's still about 10%, but the odds of you being live and picking the number 7, now we're talking about 0.0001% or somewhere around there. Now, you can see why it might be misleading to say streamer had 0.0001% of getting this lucky, even though it's technically true. But it doesn't change the fact that you had a 10% chance of getting that number regardless of if you were streaming or not. In the words of the professor that wrote the document, quote, extremely low probability events happen at random all the time. If you consider, for example, every Minecraft player, then a perfect run, 2 out of 2 Ender Pearl trades and 7 out of 7 Blaze Rod drops probably occurs multiple times an hour. Considering all Minecraft worlds ever played and the multitude of ways in which luck plays a role, even 1 in a trillion events happen daily. But that's not even getting into their actual math, that's just about how they presented it. The first thing that's wrong is that they did not correctly account for trade stopping. Basically, when you trade with a piglin, you trade until you reach enough Ender Pearls to then leave and go to the stronghold. When you get enough Ender Pearls, you immediately stop trading and leave other uncompleted trades. This is a quote from the experts report. Quote, if the last barter in a sequence is always an Ender Pearl, because then the speedrunner leaves, then it simply cannot be claimed that all barters are fully independent and identical. Without identical independent barters, the binomial model is inappropriate. In order to prove that the trade stopping was important, the expert ran a simulation over 1,000,000 times that shows that his model is far more accurate to how trading actually works than the model used in the report. Quote, the barter stopping simulation does indeed show that there are fewer barters required to get the desired number of Ender Pearls if you end immediately after an Ender Pearl barter. It also helps explain why charts showing Dream's bartering outcomes seem unbalanced with respect to Ender